Single mother worked 3 jobs to raise her daughter. What happened on her wedding day will shock you. Emily's hands trembled as she straightened the lace on Lily's wedding dress, a meticulously crafted symbol of dreams long held and finally realized. Almost 20 years of relentless labor waitressing at the diner, scrubbing houses clean, stocking shelves through sleepless nights had built this moment. Yet as she looked into her daughter's bright eyes, pride warred with a deep, gnawing uncertainty that made her stomach churn. The weight of her past loomed heavy as the reality settled. The father who had walked away, a man who had long since become a ghost in their lives, was returning to claim a part of the future. It felt surreal watching Lily transform from a child into a woman poised for adulthood. Her accomplishments were nothing short of astounding: a full scholarship, a graduation cap tossed proudly into the air. But now, amidst laughter and celebration, whispers of a life she had fought so tirelessly to build were at threat of unraveling with the arrival of the man who had chosen to abandon them. Was it even possible for him to restore what he had forsaken? What was his purpose here? Panic suffocated Emily. Would Lily favor the man with money over the mother who sacrificed everything? Would years of tireless work be diminished in the presence of a father who finally wanted to play a role? Irregular breathing quickened her pulse as if someone had turned up the heat in the grand ballroom while they decorated it with flowers and soft lighting. Even the scent of lavender cooden tea masked the sour dread bubbling within her. This day was supposed to be a celebration, a fresh start, yet the very roots of their family felt that they were on the verge of being ripped apart. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As she moved between tables set for the guests, Emily's mind raced with the implications of tonight. What would Lily choose if she had a real father now? Each moment spent attentive to the small details dissipated in the back of her mind, overrun by relentless fears. She gripped the edge of a table, grounding herself amidst chaos, but faced with the reality of choices woven into Lily's wedding veil, her resolve weakened. An unexpected hush blanketed the room, signaling something monumental about to happen. From the doorway emerged a figure that sent ripples of uncertainty through the celebration. The whispered recognition was palpable. Everyone turned to see him, her heart dropped and twisted in response. Emily's stomach churned, the faces of onlookers felt accusatory as if they sought answers in her haunted eyes. She was the ghost now, an unwelcome presence on a day that belonged to her daughter. The tension hung thick, ready to fracture under pressure. The real question loomed, waiting for its moment: could she compete with the past? Would Lily still see the love in her mother's sacrifices, or would she be lured by the allure of a fairy tale life? As her heart ached and tears threatened to spill, Emily clenched her fists in a last-ditch grasp for hope. And therein lay the deepest dilemma. The thread of trust had unraveled, and Emily had to face how love would define their family amidst newfound wealth. Emily inhaled deeply, forcing her heart to slow as she made eye contact with Lily. The moment suspended, heavy with all she wished to say, yet her voice remained trapped in her throat. She needed to show strength, but doubt gnawed at her insides. She had mastered the art of resilience for 2 decades, how could she unravel now? As Lily smiled at some distant point, lost in her vision of a future as a bride, Emily contemplated the life spent on the edge of survival, her sacrifices, the neglect of her own dreams, all directed towards this single moment. And yet, this very moment felt tainted by a presence that was never meant to return. Among the laughter echoing from the guests, Emily was consumed by a hollowness. Would she become a mere spectator in her daughter's narrative? Each passing second felt like a betrayal, the shadows of her past unfurling with each blink. The figure standing near the entrance, James, was once a man full of unfulfilled potential, now molded to fit the vision crafted by years apart. His transformation into something aspirational for Lily ignited a sense of inadequacy. Emily had spent too long building walls, now they felt fragile, easily permeated by his charm and charisma. It was frustrating. He was a stranger who was supposed to remain absent from their lives, yet she couldn't dismiss the flicker of curiosity surfacing within her, a chaotic blend of emotions. Could he offer Lily something different, something worthy of her attention? Emily's thoughts spiraled. She interlaced her fingers tightly, desperate to feel the warmth of resolve despite the chill of fear niggling beneath her skin. The notion that her daughter might be swayed by promises of luxury and affection haunted her. People mingled around her, conversations lost to her consciousness. Emily's mind whirred, replaying every sacrifice made in the fleeting whispers between the wedding bells. A house, a home, stability in the chaos. Her choices resonated within her mind, echoing with pride but challenged by the impending storm that James brought with him. She had done everything, yet now it seemed almost inadequate compared to the allure he represented. Emily? Someone called out, jarring her from her reverie. It was Caroline, a family friend whose familiar yet concerned gaze laid bare the unspoken worries shared among the guests. "Are you okay?" Caroline inquired, stepping closer and lowering her voice, sensing the turbulence within. Emily forced a nod, but inner turmoil ignited within her. She deserves happiness." Caroline placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, a gesture that sent warmth radiating through. "That's true, but so do you. Don't forget what you've given up for her that is invaluable." In those few words, clarity surfaced. Emily needed to confront James, not just for her daughter, but for herself, a reminder that her worth was not shackled to the past. Resolute, she glanced towards Lily, blissfully engaged in her own world. The image of her daughter's radiant smile ignited something primal within her. She carried a legacy of strength, perseverance, and love, all intertwined into a family narrative the world had not lived. The whispers of doubt might linger, but they could not erase what truly mattered. She had been more than enough in the shadows of uncertainty. Determination surged within her. The time had come to bridge the divide. As she started for James, her heart raced with newfound vigor. She would reclaim her space, her voice, and her love for Lily, weaving them back together. But as she approached, the closeness of James revealed an unsettling truth. Lily was watching. In that instant of eye contact, doubt flickered in her daughter's expression, making Emily's heart plummet. Would she retreat into the periphery of the wedding, solidifying the distance? This showdown wasn't just between her and James. It was an undeniable confrontation with the potential turning point in Lily's life. Emily steeled herself, ready to speak her truth, unaware that the fabric of many futures hung precariously by the next word spoken. Would she choose to fight for her family or let the past dictate their narrative? The moment of decision loomed before her. Emily's steps quickened, her resolve hardening with each heartbeat. The clamor of celebration faded into a dull hum, eclipsed by the urgency coursing through her veins. James stood there, seemingly oblivious to the storm brewing beneath her exterior. The flicker of doubt in Lily's eyes lingered like a shadow, and Emily recognized it as a reflection of her own insecurities that he turned to her as she approached, a grin poised like a mask, revealing nothing of the man he was or what he had done. The warmth of familiarity mingled with the chill of her distaste. "Emily," he greeted, his voice smooth, almost caressing. "You've come to enjoy the festivities, I hope." She scanned his face, searching for remnants of the man she once loved. The dreams they had painted in vibrant hues now dulled into pastels in the backdrop of failure. "We need to talk," she said, her voice steady despite the tumult within. "Oh? In the middle of a wedding?" He feigned a chuckle, yet uncertainty lurked behind his casual demeanor. "Now," she pressed, the words heavy with years of unspoken grievances. She noted the glances from bystanders, their curiosity piquing like popcorn in a heated pan. James's expression shifted as he saw the fierce determination in her eyes. "All right, let us step away from the crowd," he relented, gesturing towards a quieter corner beneath sprawling oaks, their leaves whispering secrets in the gentle breeze. As they walked, Emily's mind raced. How had she allowed herself to reach this point? Time spent nurturing a daughter while sacrificing her own ambitions had turned into a precarious balance on a tightrope of her past. Confrontation was not just about defending Lily's future, it was an opportunity to reclaim her own narrative. Once shielded by the branches, they paused. "Emily, what is this really about?" he started, a hint of annoyance creeping into his tone. "You seemed fine until now." "Fine?" She scoffed, the words spilling from her lips like a bitter pill. Fine is a facade I've worn because that's what mothers do. But I'm not fine. I'm tired of pretending like I'm okay with you slipping back into Lily's life. James crossed his arms, his posture defensive. I came here to support her, to be there for my daughter. Why would you want to deny her that? Because you don't understand what it means to be a parent. You can't just come back when it's convenient and expect her to embrace you, admire you, just because you're her father, she countered, her voice rising with pent-up anger and emotion that a silence stretched between them, filled with the weight of their shared history and the choices that had separated them. Emily felt the edges of her past, the guilt, the heartache, all flaring beneath the surface. Is this really how you want her to remember her wedding, with the two of us at each other's throats? He finally asked, a note of condescension slipping through the barrier of his calm. No, she breathed, her heart heavy with uncertainty. Yet it feels like the only way to protect her from the hurt you bring. Each admission clawed at her resolve. The very act of confronting him was a testament to her own fear shattered. So what do you propose? He taunted, an edge of irritation in his voice. Stop being a fleeting shadow in her life. Be real. Or step aside. She deserves more than half-hearted attempts. The challenge hung in the air, thick with unspoken consequences. Emily felt like she was at a crossroads, the future unraveling in both directions. She didn't yet know how to fight for her daughter without fracturing their fragile bonds. James met her stare, his expression unreadable. The tension crackled and she could feel the pulse of their shared history flooding back, binding their fates in ways she never anticipated, but in that moment of revelation, something surged within Emily, a hidden strength ignited by fear, love, and an unwavering will to secure Lily's future. Would this confrontation forge a new path for all of them, or collapse under the weight of past misgiving? The answer was only a heartbeat away, still shrouded in uncertainty. As she turned, her eyes found Lily again, vibrant and unaware. The stakes were high. Emily took a deep breath and steeled herself for the next move, knowing that it would shape the course of their lives forever. And there, in that pulsating instant, she resolved to fight, but for what, and at what cost? Emily's mind spun as she left James beneath the shady branches. The whispers of their conversation lingered, an echo of doubt that followed her back into the warmth of the gathering. She felt as if she had taken a step towards something monumental, but the ground was unsteady beneath her. There was so much at stake, and each heartbeat pulsed as a reminder of what she stood to lose. The laughter and jubilant voices of guests shifted from the foreground to a distant background hum. Her focus was singular now, it rested squarely on her daughter. The sight of Lily, glowing in her wedding gown, filled Emily with both pride and fear. This was a celebration of love, but it was also a reminder of the fragility of family bonds. Would Lily trust her guidance moving forward, or would her father's shadows creep back into their lives? As she approached Lily, memories flooded Emily's mind. Sleepless nights spent working multiple jobs to provide, moments spent teaching her how to ride a bike or bake her first cake, the sacrifices that had shaped their lives. Each act of love had woven a tapestry that now felt threatened. Could she protect that tapestry from unraveling? Mom! You look beautiful. Lily beamed, her face radiant with excitement. The sweetness of her daughter's smile brought a surge of warmth, dispelling a sliver of the chill that had settled in Emily's heart moments ago. Thank you, sweetie. But today isn't about me, it's all about you, Emily replied, forcing a smile that masked her inner turmoil. Just help me with my bouquet, will you? The simple act of arranging the flowers brought Emily a fleeting sense of normalcy, yet her mind couldn't escape the unsettling conversation. As they stood side by side, she observed the way Lily moved with grace, with the world revolving around her every step. This was not just a wedding, it was a turning point. She needed to find a way to ensure that James's past didn't shatter this day or their future. Resolute, she remembered the promise she made to herself. Not just to safeguard Lily's trust, but to reclaim her own sense of identity as a mother and as an individual, one who could stand firm against adversities. Hey, can we talk later? Emily asked, her voice low as she looked into Lily's eyes. I want to make sure you understand the importance of choices, yours and others. It's vital that you know what a real commitment looks like. Of course, Mom. You're giving me all the best advice today, Lily replied, slightly puzzled at the serious tone. There was an innocence in her that Emily cherished, an untainted view of the world she was desperate to preserve. Emily watched her daughter glide away among the crowd of known faces, an anchor amidst an ocean of swirling emotions. Every laugh thrown in the air, every click of a camera, every clink of glasses, seemed distant now. All that mattered was how she would safeguard the innocence that Lily exuded like a beacon. She felt a sudden burst of courage, the kind that pushed people to confront their fears head-on. Emily realized that she could not afford to retreat into a role shaped solely by the past. Instead, it was time to forge something new, to claim the authority in her own life that she had too often surrendered. Craving direction, she glanced back toward James, who stood apart, deep in conversation. The tension of their encounter simmered in the back of her mind, but she had a choice. She could engage him, but on her terms this time. With her heart pounding, Emily breathed deeply, drawing a line in the sand. Just as Lily was about to take her first step into a new life, Emily knew she also had to step into her own. Mom? Lily called, drawing her attention back. Yes, honey. When can we take a family portrait, me, you, and Dad? The simple, innocent question struck Emily despite the chaos of the moment. Just when she thought she was navigating a clear path, an unexpected fork revealed itself. The weight of that query forced her to reflect on everything she was fighting for, everything she desired to protect. With uncertainty trailing behind her like a specter, Emily clenched her fists, resolved. The next few moments would dictate her and Lily's future. Would she yield to fear or step forward into the unknown strength she felt building within? The tide was turning, and Emily stood at the brink of change, teetering between past comforts and future uncertainties. Something in her had shifted. She wouldn't shy away from difficult conversations any longer. Yet she also faced a reality she needed to decide how to approach the pivotal moments ahead. The choices she made in the next few hours could either reinforce the warmth of connection or inadvertently destabilize the delicate bonds they had worked so hard to create. As the sunlight faded and the reception drew closer to its height, Emily felt the pull of unresolved conversations and choices waiting to surface. The day was not over, it lay laden with possibility, and the next chapter of her life was ready to unfold. What would she reveal, and at what price? The moment Lily's request hung in the air, Emily's breath quickened. It felt as if time had slowed, the laughter and music fading into a dull, indistinct buzz as her heart raced with unresolved conflict. A family portrait, a fleeting image that signified unity, stability, and perhaps an illusion of harmony. Could she embrace such a moment when uncertainty shadowed their path? James's specter lingered, intertwining with her thoughts, threatening to unravel the very fabric of the celebration. Mom? The familiar softness of Lily's voice snapped her from the spiral of her thoughts. She blinked, trying to muster the right words. I just thought it would be nice. Emily nodded, though the heaviness of that fleeting idea pressed down on her. She knew the portrait would mean putting on a facade. Their lives were not an image crafted for the world, they were a mosaic of trials and triumphs, wounds and healing. Lily's innocence radiated through every smile, but Emily felt the weight of the past shadowing her. I'll think about it, sweetheart, she said, not wanting to crush her daughter's enthusiasm but knowing she needed to tread carefully. The seconds felt like hours as Emily's resolve deepened. Eliminating fear required more than acknowledgement, it demanded confrontation. She needed to approach James, not merely to address their unfinished business, but to redefine the bounds of their connection for the sake of Lily. Each step toward that direction propelled her closer to personal growth, a commitment to her new identity resonating louder than the remnants of her former self. As she found herself standing before James, a mingling crowd obscured them, yet he felt like the only presence in the room. She watched him, his laughter bubbling over to those around him felt foreign, almost out of place given their recent conversation. There had been a time when that laughter hadn't been tainted by trepidation, when he had been a protective figure rather than a potential threat. Can we talk? Emily spoke, her voice steady despite the crackle of tension in the air. There was a pragmatic note in her tone that she instantly recognized. She wasn't asking permission, she was asserting her need for clarity. James turned, surprise flickering across his features. Now? In the middle of all this? He gestured toward the crowd, but the urgency mirrored in Emily's eyes silenced the playful banter of the reception. Yes, now, she replied with resolve, her heart swirling with anxiety and newfound strength. It was time to dismantle the curtain that had shrouded their relationship for too long. They moved to a quieter corner, the music a backdrop to their conversing thoughts. The gentle hum of laughter became a reminder of what they had created and what might yet fracture. James shifted, looking unsure, and that uncertainty stung. Emily knew she had to pull the threads apart carefully but with intent. "What did you mean when you said you wanted to make things right?" she prompted, met with an expression that oscillated between guilt and indifference. "I meant, for Lily's sake. For all of us." Somehow to keep a family intact, he stammered, the sincerity of his words tangled with hesitation. Emily felt a flicker of anger. The conflict between his intentions and past actions was palpable, yet disguise masked it all. Intact? Or just visible? She challenged, fervor growing with each passing moment. "We can't move forward wearing masks, pretending everything is fine. That's not how it works." She felt her voice rise as she spoke, forcing herself to recalibrate. Her new mantra was clarity. She couldn't shield herself with uncertainty any longer. Emily needed James to understand their reality. It wouldn't be comfortable, and it wouldn't be easy, but it was necessary. "What do you want from me?" he asked, frustration lining each word. "I want to ensure that Lily knows what commitment truly means. I want our family, in whatever form that exists, to be rooted in truth, not pretense." In that moment, Emily understood that her journey was not just about confronting James. This was also about claiming her authority to navigate through complicated waters. She was not just fighting for herself but for the integrity of the bond with her daughter. As James reacted to her words, his emotions played behind his eyes. Would he grasp the importance of her stance or dismiss it as an overreaction? Their past hovered over them like a cloud threatening to rain, and Emily stood firm, ready to confront whatever storm might break. But as the rising tension in the air coiled around them, a realization crashed into Emily like a flash of light. This wasn't merely about maintaining family ties. It was about redefining what those ties meant, about rediscovering her strength as a mother and as an individual. "Are you committed to that vision?" she asked, her heart pounding, waiting for the answer that would reveal the true nature of their relationship and the future that awaited them. The response she sensed would shape her next steps and determine the path forward. Would this be a moment of clarity or another cycle of chaotic beginnings? She could almost see the weight of his decision brewing just beneath the surface, ready to break free. What he would say next could either awaken a new chapter or reopen old wounds. The air around them thickened with anticipation. James hesitated, his brow furrowing as he processed her question. The moment hung heavy between them. Emily felt every second stretch, her heart racing with a mix of hope and dread. This was the crossroads, the potential moment of transformation that could reshape their lives. "I want to be," he finally said, though the uncertainty in his voice betrayed him. "I care for Lily. I do. But what if it's not as simple as just saying it?" The doubt he expressed cut deep, the weight of it threatening to drag her back into past resentments. She took a breath, grounding herself in the reality that change wouldn't come easily. This was not just about his willingness, it was about mutual commitment, recognition of shared responsibility, and an honest conversation about their fractured history. "You have to show it," Emily replied, her voice calm yet firm. "Words without action are just noise. We need to start rebuilding trust." He shifted on his feet, rubbing the back of his neck, a gesture Emily recognized as his default when grappling with discomfort. But sympathy felt misplaced in that moment. Trust was not a gift, it was earned and required clarity of intention. "What do you want from me, really?" he pressed, frustration tinging his tone again. It suddenly struck Emily how often they'd danced around vulnerabilities without digging deeper, and how through the years they had twisted hope into excuses. She had skirted the frayed edges of her trust because it felt easier than facing the truth head-on, easier than accepting the risk of being let down again. "I want you to acknowledge the past, James. Not to wallow in it but to understand how it shapes the future for us and for Lily. We can't pretend we don't have scars, and we can't ignore how they affect our relationship. If we're building this together, we need to confront those wounds. His face paled, she could see him grappling with it, and for a moment, guilt flickered in his eyes. Emily pressed on, feeling a fire igniting within her. This was her moment to pursue a future unclouded by their shared history. Do you realize, every time we avoid the truth, we teach her to do the same? I want Lily to understand strength means standing up and confronting challenges, not running from them. James stared, his fists clenching at his sides. It's hard to face the things we've done. You're not alone in this, she interrupted softly, letting sincerity wash through her words. I've carried my own burdens. I know how steep that path can feel. But we can't do it pretending. It's about honesty, and it's about breaking cycles. His shoulders dropped slightly, a crack in his armor, and Emily took notice. This was her chance to dig deeper into the possibilities. James needed to own his part too. Learning to face conflict together was a necessary step toward healing. I'm ready to try, he admitted, finally looking her in the eye. But I can't promise it will be perfect. I'm still learning what commitment means. Emily felt a pang of both hope and trepidation. The future remained uncertain, but for the first time, they had exchanged the layers of their facade for something raw and vulnerable. She had demandlessly carved out a wedge of truth in the midst of chaos. Trying is all we need to begin with, she said, allowing a flicker of a smile, the first hint of authenticity in their dialogue. Yet, just as relief began to settle in, Emily felt another wave of doubt crash in. What if his trying was merely a temporary effort, a shield against accountability? Was this the foundation of change, or just another iteration of their cycle? Let us start small, James suggested, his voice taking on a more resolute tone. Family meetings every week? We can talk about everything, no more expectations of perfection. The suggestion rang true. Regular conversations could foster genuine connection and accountability. Okay, Emily agreed. Let us do that. But it also means facing those past mistakes, of which I have enough of my own to unpack. James nodded, appearing somewhat more centered. As they emerged from the quiet corner and rejoined the revelry around them, Emily felt a mixture of cautious optimism and lingering skepticism. The air was still thick with potential. As they began to navigate the bubbling crowd once more, a blistering reminder emerged. A portrait might be visually ideal, but it could not capture the intricacies of their reality. Their journey would not fit neatly behind a camera lens. Emily caught Lily's eye across the room, her daughter radiating carefree joy. In that instant, the urgency of their task hit Emily again. This was about creating a legacy of truth for Lily, one that could empower her to embrace life's complexities unashamedly. Are you ready for this? She whispered to James, her voice edged with determination. The response that lingered in the air between them felt like a shadow of uncertainty, and as they moved back into the rhythm of the party, Emily knew that the real work was just beginning. The threads of their lives were fraying and promising to unravel, but she was determined to weave something new, a commitment stripped of pretense. Yet, beneath the surface crackled the impending storm of unaddressed issues, past grievances waiting to resurface. How long could they maintain the facade of progress before the truth demanded its reckoning? The next conversation loomed ominously on the horizon, a reminder of all they left unresolved. Emily felt the weight of the world on her shoulders as she left the warmth of the party behind. The laughter and music faded, leaving her with only the sound of her own thoughts, each one sharp and focused. The promise of small beginnings hung in the air, a fragile concept still subject to the realities of their past. The exhilaration of truth felt like a balm, yet doubt thrummed in the background. What if this was just another cycle disguised as progress? Driving home, her mind raced with possibilities and pitfalls. James's agreements had sparked a flicker of hope within her, but she was suddenly confronted with an unsettling realization. Their trajectory depended not just on his willingness to confront the past, but on her actions, too. Had she really laid bare her own struggles, or had she conveniently brushed over her contributions to their troubles? The question gnawed at her. As she pulled into their driveway, Emily noticed the sight of their modest home illuminated against the darkness. It was more than a structure, it was a symbol of both hope and entrapment. Within these walls were memories of laughter and arguments, growth and stagnation, joy and pain. She took a deep breath, letting it fill her, grounding herself in the belief that evolution could begin here. Stepping inside, she was met with calm. Lily was nestled in her blanket on the couch, a collection of markers and paper scattered around her. The soft hum of the television provided an innocuous backdrop to the scene, but Emily's heart clenched at the sight of her daughter, unaware of the complexities unfolding around her. Lily had already been through so much. The idea of further upheaval weighed heavily on Emily's conscience. Suddenly, the prospect of family meetings felt uncomfortably real. Could she be a role model without projecting her own turbulent emotions? Emily felt the paradox fully. She wanted to inspire sincerity but feared exposing Lily to the burdens of their shared history too soon. "Mommy, look!" Lily's excited voice jolted Emily from her reverie. She smiled automatically as Lily held up an abstract creation, a collage of color, each stroke a vibrant splash on the canvas of childhood. In that moment, Emily caught a glimpse of the hopeful delusion she often nurtured, that if Lily could create something beautiful from chaos, maybe she could too. "Wow, that's amazing, sweetheart." Emily beamed, kneeling beside her daughter. Guilt swirled inside her, a loud reminder of the layers she'd yet to peel, shadows obscuring the vast potential they could nurture together. She needed to teach Lily not just about resilience, but about vulnerability. As Lily shared her artistic process with unfiltered enthusiasm, Emily's resolve strengthened. This was her opportunity to engage not just as a mother but as an empowered woman willing to confront her inadequacies. The notion of facing conflicts and rebuilding trust transcended just her relationship with James. It extended to how she influenced Lily. "Lily, do you want to help me create something together?" Emily asked, her heart racing at the thought of involving Lily in a journey steeped in honesty. It felt daunting, but she sensed that this could serve as an introduction to the complexities of life. "We can talk about everything that's going on. What makes you happy, what worries you?" Lily's eyes lit up, her excitement palpable. "You mean like a project?" "I want to hear everything." As Emily gathered supplies, the flicker of anxiety transformed into a flickering flame of determination. Their collaboration was more than an art project. It was a way to instill a foundation of understanding, a canvas where they could lay out their fears and aspirations side by side. The plans for their family meetings began to take shape, threaded with the promise of exploration and vulnerability. But as they started sketching ideas, Emily felt a powerful undercurrent stirring within her, a growing awareness that this was about more than healing their family. It was an invitation for Emily to step into her role as a guiding light, embracing the weight of their shared past while carving a path toward a new legacy. Yet, deep down, a nagging question remained: how truthful could she afford to be in their interactions? The remnants of insecurity crept back, reminding her that vulnerability often left one open to hurt. Was this endeavor toward transparency merely a step toward resolution, or was it a gentle unraveling of the very fabric she'd been trying to stitch together? How would James respond when confronted with the truth she was ready to reveal in their subsequent meetings? Empowerment surged in her veins as she faced her daughter, but uncertainty brewed in the back of her mind, signaling that the upcoming family meetings would demand more than just the courage to speak. They would require a fortified commitment to confront the unaddressed truths that loomed just beneath the surface. As they settled into their creative session, a new realization struck Emily: this process was not just a means to reshape her relationship with James and Lily, but also a pivotal moment to redefine her identity in countless ways. The past and future were intertwined, and she needed to navigate both with grace and conviction. Her determination solidified. Emily knew she had to prepare for the conversations ahead and embrace the turbulence that loomed. The moment of revelation was inevitable, but would it bring clarity or chaos? As Emily and Lily worked side by side on their art project, the markers transformed into colorful strokes that mirrored the chaos and beauty of their lives. Each mark on paper felt like a step toward dismantling the wall of silence that had become so familiar in their home. Emily marveled at Lily's creativity and, for a moment, felt her own insecurities dissipate. But when doubts crept back in like unwelcome whispers, she recalled how much she had kept bottled up inside her for fear of burdening her daughter. "Look, Mommy. This is the happiest day," Lily exclaimed, pointing to a bright yellow sun she had drawn as a centerpiece. It was a vulnerability to share her feelings through art, and Emily saw a picture of resilience sketched in crayon. "And what about yours?" Lily asked. Emily paused, her mind racing. What was her happiest day? Would she recount their family's best moments, or lay bare the struggles that threatened to overshadow those memories? I have a lot of happy days, but they don't always look like sunshine, she replied, searching for the right words. Some happiness can be hidden beneath a few clouds. It's okay to feel a little of both at times, you know? Lily tilted her head in thought, and Emily felt a sense of pride mix with the lingering guilt. Yes, her daughter could learn the value of embracing complexity, but could she also shield her from the specter of disappointment that haunted their home? Deciding to choose honesty, Emily added, it's important to know that it's okay to be sad, too. We can work through it together. Lily nodded but seemed fixated on her drawing. Emily's resolve, however, began to crystallize. If she was to teach her daughter about emotional honesty, she needed to do the same in her own life. But as she contemplated the upcoming family meetings, Emily couldn't escape the trepidation that came with confronting harsh truths. Would James accept her newfound clarity, or would he lash out in resentment? The next day, as she prepared for her first family meeting, she scribbled notes on how to approach the conversations that could define their future. Each point felt like an incision into her previous self, exposing the core of her anxieties and desires. Emily struggled to focus, her vision blurred with thoughts of what would happen when she pushed beyond her comfort zone. During the meeting, James appeared distant, walls still intact. Emily felt the tension, an invisible thread that threatened to bind them where they had once begun to untangle. She opened the floor, attempting to spark dialogue about their past, but found herself hesitating, questioning her readiness to lay it all bare. Maybe we can talk about what's been bothering us lately, she suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. The silence that enveloped them was heavy. James's eyes flickered with that familiar mix of unresolved anger and hurt, and Emily felt her heart race. What if he couldn't handle the raw truth? What if they were not ready? The grip of her insecurity tightened, pulling her back from the edge of honesty. But the vision of her daughter's bright collage filled her mind. Lily's son shared space with chaotic scribbles, and Emily understood. It was time to embrace both light and shadows, to craft a clearer picture of the family they could become. With newfound courage, Emily said, I think we owe it to ourselves to confront what we've avoided. I want us to grow, together. The words hung in the air, suspended between hope and fear. James sighed deeply, the resistance in his expression softening for a moment. Just as he opened his mouth to respond, the doorbell rang, shattering the fragile tension. Emily felt an unexpected surge of dread, a reminder that external forces could disrupt their careful plans. Who would come knocking at their door during a moment so pivotal? As she exchanged a nervous glance with James, she couldn't shake the feeling that whatever awaited them on the other side could either offer clarity or further disrupt the delicate balance they were striving to create. And yet, despite the uncertainty, she realized one fundamental truth: confronting the past, wrapped in vulnerability, required courage. Would they take the next step together, or would the winds of change push them further apart? With her heart pounding, she took a deep breath, ready to face whatever awaited them beyond their front door, knowing it could either fortify their family ties or pull them apart irrevocably. Emily opened the door slowly, the hinges creaking a weary welcome. Standing on the threshold was Marissa, a close family friend with an aura of warmth that typically hugged you like a favorite jacket. Today, though, her smile seemed painted over worry, the concern dancing in her eyes making Emily's stomach flip. Hey, I just wanted to check in, Marissa said, her voice bright but laced with a timidity that suggested she sensed the storm brewing behind Emily's facade. Is everything okay? Emily hesitated. The meeting had just begun, and now the doubts pressed harder on her chest. Part of her wanted to spill everything, expose the cracks in her family structure like she was drawing back a curtain. However, she also felt the need to protect this moment, to maintain the fragile growth she had started. We were just about to have a family meeting. Oh. Should I come back later? Marissa's brow furrowed, and Emily could see her weigh the invitation to step inside. No. You can stay, I think, Emily muttered. She glanced at James, whose posture had tensed at the arrival of an uninvited guest. It might help. Marissa stepped in, her presence instantly adding a different energy to the room. As she settled onto the couch, Emily felt the tension shift, like a warm ray of sunlight poking through clouds. James looked at her, scrunched up his brows. This isn't exactly the best time, Marissa. Emily felt a pang, a mixture of irritation at James's dismissal and gratitude for Marissa's existence. A part of her wished she could engage in this moment more, talk to her friend about all the things she had been avoiding. Yet, ego and resolve battled in her head. It was like she was wearing a costume, one she had stitched with old fabric soaked in fear and insecurity. I think it's good to have someone here, Emily finally said, her voice firm in its conviction. Marissa nodded with understanding, and with that support, Emily felt her grounding shift. We were just discussing some things that have been difficult in our family, she said, providing an opening, encouraging both James and Marissa to join her in this vulnerability. It's about communication, really, she continued, looking directly at James, attempting to convey the urgency behind her words. I want us to be honest with each other, no matter how hard it is. As the conversation began to swirl around sentiment and fear, Emily felt charged. The sheer act of voicing her feelings, her thoughts, started disentangling her tight grip on silence. It was nervously liberating, like pulling on a thread that began to unravel a whole tapestry. Yet, each word she spoke was layered with the weight of what remained unsaid. James, however, seemed to shrink within himself, his defensiveness palpable. What do you think we can even talk about that we haven't been dancing around for years? His voice edged with bitterness and Emily caught the flicker of shame on his face. Maybe we can acknowledge the things we haven't been brave enough to speak, Emily countered, unwavering. She felt the adrenaline charging as she took a risk with her vulnerability. We both know what's been brewing beneath the surface. It's time we deal with it, not just for us but for Lily, too. Marissa shifted, clearly feeling the weight of the conversation. Family dynamics can shift because of honesty. Sometimes the truth is challenging, but it's so necessary when rebuilding. What started as a superficial discussion transformed into an exploration of their family ethos. Expectations emerged, intertwined with fear, hurt, and unuttered grievances. Each of them faced their own ghosts in that living room, caught between wanting connection and the fear of causing more pain. Just as Emily began to see light at the end of this charged tunnel, she noticed James's jaw flex. You think we're broken beyond repair? Is that it? His voice rose, pierced by a mix of hurt and fervor. James's reaction was a torrent of unacknowledged emotions, and Emily realized the hourglass was nearly out of sand. They had reached a breaking point, one where truths could either heal or shatter any semblance of unity they had together. As she prepared to confront the raw core of their disconnect, Emily felt a surge of determination punctuated by fear. This pivotal moment could redefine their future, but would they be willing to face the looming shadows together? The unanswered question loomed over them, heavy yet vital. Could they transform their pain into strength, or would the burden of unspoken truths crack their foundation entirely? Emily instinctively leaned forward, heart racing, eager and terrified of what awaited them on the precipice of this conversation. Emily stood in the quiet after the uproar, her heart still pounding. The aftermath of their confrontation with James loomed large, but she found resolve fortifying her spirit. As she watched the weight of truths unfold in the room, she realized that this was not merely about salvaging her family but about establishing a new definition for their future, a future unmarred by old wounds. Her voice, calm but unwavering, rose above the tension. We have to be brave enough to tackle our past if we want to move forward. This isn't just about us, it's about Lily. She deserves to understand what true commitment looks like, and that starts with us. James remained silent, eyes cast downward, yet she could feel the energy shifting. The hesitance in the room began to crack, like fragile ice giving way to a rushing stream. Marissa's encouraging nod served as an anchor, empowering Emily to push through the awkwardness in that charged atmosphere. Emily chose clarity over discomfort. I've spent years struggling with how to frame my experiences for Lily, thinking that shielding her from pain was the answer. I've held back too much, but now I realize that we can't sweep conflict under the rug any longer. True strength is facing vulnerability. James's gaze rose, misunderstanding flickering in his eyes. You really think we can just pretend everything is okay? I messed up, Emily. I disappeared from your lives. No, Emily interjected, steady but urgent in her tone. You don't get to define your absence by your choices alone. We are here. We survived. We built a life out of uncertainty and fear. This moment is about taking ownership of all of it, your past choices and my decisions too. We each played a part. The reality of their shared history danced in the air as James began to wrestle with what she said. She observed how the heartache shifted into something tangible. It started to reshape into responsibility. In confronting this together, they could model for Lily the fabric of family built on honesty and vulnerability, showing her that love could encompass both joy and struggle. Is that what you want? To expose everything? All the hurt? You think Lily needs to hear that? James challenged, brow furrowed, but Emily recognized this as a test of defense. Yes. She needs to learn that life isn't pristine. It's messy, it's complicated, and it requires us to be real with each other, Emily insisted, feeling her pulse quicken. We owe her that much. As James absorbed her words, a flicker of understanding ignited in his expression. So what you're saying is we need to stop pretending we've been perfect parents. Our choices have consequences, and the foundation of our family is built on trust, something we need to reclaim. Emily nodded, resolve coursing through her. Exactly. Together, we forge our path anew. We need to communicate through the chaos, not just idealize our happiness. Marissa chimed in, a calm presence. It's about defining what accountability looks like for each of you. Not apologies alone, but actions that demonstrate change moving forward. A silence fell, rich with consideration. James shifted, the finality of their conversation evident. I'm willing, he said slowly. I want to face those ghosts too. I don't want to be a shadow in her life any longer. Emily felt a mix of hope and weight, knowing this was not the end, but merely the beginning of the next chapter they would write together. For so long, she felt like she stood at the periphery of life, dissipating into her past, but here she was, staking her claim. In that moment of clarity, the invisible shackles binding them loosened as they acknowledged their past, and the air turned lighter, infused with promise. They were no longer mere actors in a performance. They could be the co-authors of a story that bridged past mistakes and future intentions. Let us make this work, for Lily, and for us. One step at a time, Emily suggested, her voice steady as she determined the contours of their new family dynamic, a path she felt unexpectedly invigorated to tread. In the aftermath of truth, it became clear that facing her fears had reignited a sense of purpose within her. Not only for her daughter, but as a woman reclaiming her narrative. Each conversation shaped the legacy she wanted to foster, a driving force for love, resilience, and honesty. As the evening, dimming with the sunset, cast a warm glow over the three of them, Emily's heart soared. This moment was not just hopeful, it was transformative. With clarity echoing in their hearts, they began a new path centered on approaching life's complexities with courage. For Emily, it marked a turning point. She was not just a survivor of her past, she was an architect of their future, ready to navigate the beautiful chaos life had to offer. Vulnerability had birthed strength, and with each conversation, she felt herself emerge more whole than before. Now was the time to encourage others, to show the power of overcoming adversity through honesty and strength. She turned toward Marissa and James, knowing they just began to rewrite the story that would set forth a profound legacy for Lily, a legacy not just of love, but of genuine understanding, compassion, and acceptance. The universe awaited, expansive and filled with potential. So much lay ahead for the three of them, adventures to share and truths to discover. And now, she was more than ready. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.